We have fun. Good luck. Have fun. Don't Die comes to us from filmmaker Gore Verbinski, who's done films like Mouse Hunt. They came out when I was 16 years old, back when there was dial-up internet, back when basically you had to go play outside with your friends, and you could go to the local cinema and see films like Mouse Hunt, or you could go see films like The Fifth Element, or you could sneak into a showing of Scream 2 like I did before I ended up turning 17 years old. Boy, I felt bad for those theater employees. Gore Verbinski had nothing to do with that. I just remembered that particular thing. That was a whole lot of fun. Anyway, Gore Verbinski also would go on to do films like The Ring, Watch If You Dare, it says. Oh, Naomi Watts in the Pacific Northwest. Naomi Watts being gorgeous and just an incredible actress with a great horror setting and everything. And yeah, God, Watch If You Dare. Thank you very much, The Ring, I will. This actually was a really good U.S. adaptation of a Japanese horror modern classic in awful wording. So Gore Verbinski would also go on to do Pirates of the Caribbean 1, 2, and 3. He would also do the ill-fated 2013 Lone Ranger. Just before that, he would do Rango, and his last film was A Cure for Wellness. That was pretty good. Maybe wasn't as successful as the studio would have liked, and Gore Verbinski said, I'll be over here. He took a 9-year hiatus. I think that's the word I can apply here, and said, you know what? Yeah, I'll return to the director's chair. Briarcliff Entertainment that did My Dead Friend Zoe and Valiant 1. I like My Dead Friend Zoe a lot fucking more than Valiant 1. Both involved the military, but My Dead Friend Zoe actually was a film. Valiant 1 was just complete dog shit. Check out my reviews of those on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist if you want. And Gore Verbinski couldn't do it alone. He decided to, bring on, or Briarcliff Entertainment decided to bring on Matthew Mr. Robinson, or Matthew Robinson wandered in the door and said, hey, you've done writing. How about you do this? Okay. It's entirely possible as to how this film came together. I'm not sure. He did Love and Monsters. He did Monsters Trucks in awful English. Monster Trucks. He also did the live-action Dora and the City of Lost Gold, or the Lost City of Gold. And he also did The Invention of Lying. So this particular film, by the way, was the Regal Mystery Movie because I don't actually think it's out in full release for at least a week and a half. This concerns Sam Rockwell as a man from the future where the world is totally fucked. Either people are addicted to technology or there are a few fringe people that aren't. And he is one of them that has come back to this particular diner, not Tom's Diner, not Yeah, I'm going to throw in little song references because it's fun. It's a bit. I know I can't sing. It's just for fun. YouTube's supposed to be for entertainment. Anyway, speaking of entertainment, we get immediate entertainment from Sam Rockwell, even though they make him scraggly with some weird tech and stuff like that in a see-through raincoat on him. Not like that. He actually is fully clothed, thankfully. Sam Rockwell is a terrific actor, by the way. Can play comedy, can play drama. And he instantly says, I have been here a lot of times. I am from the future. I am trying to assemble a team to basically stop the world from dissolving into chaos because of AI taking over. That is pretty much your non-spoiler premise right there. Some people might have seen this trailer. Some people may have not. Actually, I think the vast majority of people may have not. And I had a feeling it was between Wuthering Heights, Crime 101, and this because of the runtime. And we have a few other people that are in this. Haley Lou Richardson, who is in After Yang. We also have Zazie Beetz. We have Michael Pena, who has had an interesting, start to, this decade. I mean, I think he was in A Working Man, if I recall correctly, and he was not given nearly enough to do. We had Juno Temple in this. Good for her. And Osman Chowdhury, I think is how you say it, or Chaudhry. And basically this concerns, how much AI has a hold on people. And it is a 2-hour and 14-minute movie in the tradition of a lot of Gore Verbinski films where he tends to be given either carte blanche or just wants to extend some scenes and make things a little bit longer. So that might turn some people off, but I want to tell you right now, before you get totally turned off, here is what the film basically is. A mixture of sci-fi, comedy, good social commentary, with a few horror elements. It's kind of like Landscape with Invisible Hand in the sense that this is more independently produced. There's more lavish special effects in this. Landscape with Invisible Hand was certainly unique. I think could have done more with his premise and probably could have done a lot more had it had a bigger studio behind it. But maybe it wouldn't have been as creatively fulfilling. And it ends up actually being very fucking good. That's a bit anticlimactic there, but this turns out to be one of the finest films that I have seen in quite a while as far as taking a few familiar elements. I mean, there are calls to certain movies and everything, at least what I picked up on. But as far as the breezy pace, the nature of the film, and the fact that the characters all seem to, just gel well together, and the cast seems to be having a great time. I had a blast with Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Now, if there's a couple issues that I have, it's that sometimes it feels like a few scenes could have been trimmed down. A few times it feels like it's spinning its wheels. And there are a couple moments where I'm like, okay, maybe that wasn't necessary, and this film probably could have been a nice tighter hour and 50 minutes. It feels almost like the third act is a little bit stretched out. But I can't let those minor quibbles hide the fact that I was hugely entertained by this. It's great to see with an engaged audience. And this is actually, I think, the first Regal mystery movie I've seen. Or first mystery movie I've seen, because I see some at AMC where people didn't immediately walk out. I don't think there was one single walkout with this. And that's good. That's very, very good to see. So it is in theaters right now. If you want to check it out, I'm going to get into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, it's in theaters soon. Spoilers. So, I gotta say this, immediately starting with Sam Rockwell just being full on, like, crazy and talking conspiracy theory stuff to the outside, to, like, somebody on the outside just looking at this guy, like, this disheveled facial hair and all this stuff, and dressed like he could be a transient. I'm not knocking that, but it's like, the stereotype. You could see this not working so well, but he is picking out certain people that he doesn't want to pick, because he's done this 117 times. Sometimes they don't even make it out of the diner. Sometimes they make it a little further, and they, whatever happens, there are certain forces against them that are stopping him. But there's one particular character that we later find out is named Ingrid, that he's like, nope, not you. Nope, not you. Sit down. And there's a reason for that. A reason that is pretty much fucking telegraphed. Telegraphed. It's practically just, put with a giant neon sign, plot point, plot point, plot point. But anyway, as they are going through ways to try and get out of the diner, get out the front door, oh, he's going to get shot. Oh, and he has a fail-safe thing where he hits this and he can go back to his own time and then come back and, try to do this again. Hence why he's been doing it 117 times. So no wonder he's kind of fried and everything and seems to know stuff about a lot of people. But as they're trying to figure out their ways out of the diner, we also get a bit of a, story building with Mark and Janet. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Zazie Beetz could be nasty. I don't know if she is. But yeah, Michael Pena and Zazie Beetz are at a school. Michael Pena is a substitute teacher. And there's this stuff about them being addicted to their phones. And, we can't do anything about the teachers are saying, oh, what's this siren? The siren is that, there's a school shooting. Yeah, they actually, they did it well, I will say that much. They didn't show anything. They tried to have, as much dark humor as you could about it. I go, oh boy, that was a little bit tough. They did it well, I'll say that much. So, credit to Matthew Robinson, credit to Gore for keeping the, the tone as light as possible. But then at one point, while Mark is going through, looking at all the phones, he tries to touch one of the phones because he's drawn in by all this tech, all the Instagram, TikTok stuff and whatever. And he ends up touching the phone. And there's this weird triangle thing that comes up, the 3D triangle. And, oh shit, now they're going to be on the run. And they have to take a sabbatical. Sabbatical is kind of something that's talked about among the teachers. And the principal taking a sabbatical, and there's some pretty good humor there. And we then see the character of Susan, played by Juno Temple, who is able to, she's a little bit smarter than most, actually knowing stuff that even the man from the future didn't, Mr. Rockwell didn't, and basically, we find out why. She lost her son in that school shooting. There's this group of these mothers. One insanely gorgeous, dark-haired woman. My word, my God, gorgeous. Anyway, so the whole point is, they come up with a way for her to have a support group, and they also give her a card for something that, turns out to actually be a cloning center where they can clone anybody. And yeah, the soul and the heart's a little bit difficult to get, and the brain's a little bit difficult to get, but you can get this version. It's costly, but the government will subsidize some of it, especially if you're a victim of a school or, if you get the one with the ads, then you get it cheaper. So your clone kid will suddenly burst out into an ad. And I don't know why it was funny. Again, it is like Landscape with Invisible Hand, where there are ideas thrown in, and it doesn't seem like they do enough with them. Again, this is elevated above Landscape with Invisible Hand, even though I have to rewatch that at some point. But she is finding out about this clone stuff. Her son is mentioning about some kind of particular drink. And she goes to this party where this guy basically reveals, hey, I have found, what they do at this particular location. Here's this little hard drive thing. It will help you communicate with your son's personality that they keep locked in this computer. Again, a lot of busy stuff going on here. And even though her clone son is trying his best, he's still not perfect. She puts her ear thing in and is able to talk to her son. And her son is actually guiding her, which is why she knows so much of this stuff, finds a cellar door. They manage to escape, this kind of stuff. And then we find out about Ingrid's story. And Ingrid is allergic to cell phones and Wi-Fi, hence why at one point her nose is bleeding. She's also playing a generic princess that one mother says, oh, tell her you're Elsa's cousin. And so she's bleeding from the nose, but her job's going okay, except she's having some issues. And then this pizza guy shows up named Tim, who ends up, he's not really addicted to cell phones at all. He just uses maps. So we find out that, they end up getting together and they're living nice and everything. And then one day a package shows up, and I'm skipping over some of the finer details here because a lot happens, but a lot of it is also dialogue based. So it is something that you really need to, pay attention to. And basically Tim ends up seeing this VR-like thing with the triangle deal. And he ends up getting addicted to it. Sees this VR world where basically he ends up dropping every single thing to go to this VR world. Now, before that, she wanted him to witness this sunrise. And then, she basically, that's how she ended up at this diner and everything, and why she ended up getting picked. And now the idea is they have to get to a 9-year-old boy's house, and they have to basically plug in this little USB thing to kind of make the AI safer, so it's not all full-on dickish and, otherworldly and Skynet-like. Oh, yes, and there was also something during the the Mark Janet thing, where this one other teacher made these guns that, stopped the technology, the Mars attack, guns, and that's actually what they end up using to try and get away. And there's actually some pretty creepy imagery of these kids wandering around with their cell phones and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, but if you're with a woman like Haley Lou Richardson, you are going to want to stay with her. I'm just saying that right there. But sunrise is a theme, because then we find out more about Mr. Rockwell's, childhood. His mother kept him hidden from technology because she felt technology was bad. Are you getting it here? And he excuse me, he went and basically out of their bunker found this VR set that just happened to be there and was going to put it on, but then saw this weird drone thing that sent this missile and blew up the bunker. So he ended up killing his mother. So he is trying to come back and do all this stuff. And we find out what actually is, why the reason is why he didn't want to have her, come along. But while they're going along to try and get to this guy's house, there are also these two thugs that are trying to shoot at them. And there's one weird homeless guy with a scimitar that tries to come at them. And he ends up knocking one over, and they go into some water. And then one forgets to put the parking brake on, and his car ends up pressing him against this concrete wall. But the wall ends up starting to almost fall in. Things aren't going good. They manage to escape. And then we find out more about these stories and everything. So it's actually a pretty well thought out, narrative, even if some of it is familiar. And the one thing also about him as a child is his mother talked about sunrises. We will see one day, but the world's kind of a wasteland. Sunrise. We'll see a sunrise one day. Gee, I wonder who the mother is. By the way, Ingrid's the mother, just in case you hadn't figured it out. Just in case the sizzling neon sign didn't exactly tell you that. But the funniest part of this damn movie is when they are trying to get to this boy's house, and they're barricading the house next door, and then suddenly they start coming up with scenarios what it could be. Mr. Rockwell says, it could be it could be, various things. It could be, Navy SEALs. It could be a bunch of stuff. And then they start making fun of it, like, maybe it could be kittens. Maybe they could be throwing glitter. Maybe it could be a centaur. Maybe it could be all kinds of stuff. You know what it ends up being? It ends up being a giant cat head with kittens on the neck, hooves, and it eats people, and it sprays glitter out the neck as it eats people. I couldn't have come up with that if I was in a fever dream. So that's unique. I will give them that much credit. And of course, the kids are addicted to technology. The teens wandering around, and they're taking pictures, taking selfies, taking videos, and the cat's eating them because cat videos, all that. That was pretty good. That was very entertaining. And then they end up getting to the house. It's just a few of them left. But Scott's Azam, Scott, played by Azam, basically is an Uber driver and ends up actually running over the second thug that they thought was dead. That was actually a pretty humorous moment. Where he got the Prius, I don't know. And they end up visiting the kid's house, and the kid basically, they don't see the kid, but the parents are acting all weird. Scott ends up getting killed with a meat thermometer. The parents are just playing parents. They are supposed to be watching this kid, and boom, boom, boom. The dad gets killed, and then the ice dispenser starts spraying ice on him. Pretty humorous. The mother runs out, and basically the boy, the one design, this whole thing, 9-year-old boy, is constantly on the computer, typing stuff and everything, creating this AI, and he's eating cheesy puffs. The whole meme with the fat guy eating the stuff and all that and everything. That, funny. I will give them that much credit. And the idea is, basically, it is just down to Rockwell, it's down to Juno, and it is down to Haley's Ingrid. And Ingrid is allergic to technology, so she's not doing all that well right now. So they're trying to come up with a way to, get the boy away from the keyboard and everything, and he ends up screaming at him, and then he ends up punching him, which is actually kind of funny. So Rockwell punches a kid, and then falls down, and they have to, there's these weird toys, almost like we're going toy soldier here, trying to rise up, and they get the kid back up there, and then he wakes up and he's doing this technology stuff and just typing in and getting all these lines of code and all this stuff. And basically it's a firefight. They end up getting they end up coming up with the idea, or at least Susan does, to put the little hard drive thing in the box that she's been using with Darren, her son's voice. Are you following me so far? Because it's a little weird. To get, to figure out a way to get through this, infiltrate this stuff. But now they got to try to find a way to connect this stuff. There's many cords all around everything. In fact, he's sitting on a pile of cords and toys. And these cords come alive, and they try to go next to this box, but they're this kind of stuff. And eventually, this toy robot has this knife that Sam Rockwell drops, and he ends up stabbing him in the chest, but not enough to where he's going to necessarily kill him, because he's got a little bit of armor. But it looks like it's all over, and then Ingrid basically is going to connect this stuff. There's just a few seconds left. There's been a timer this whole, time. And we basically end up seeing what happened, what happens with, Ingrid going into VR. Oh, you won't be bleeding anymore. You'll be fine. You'll be able to see sunsets whenever you want because I am inevitable. Oh, and this is your son. Your son won't have to worry about this stuff ever again. But you're going to give your son to me, but I'll make sure that that you're healthy, this kind of stuff. They kind of almost go a little Architect from Matrix Reloaded in this. Not quite that much. This is where I felt things dragged a little bit. Could have probably cut a little of this stuff. But meanwhile, VR has slowed this way down to where like the 20 seconds that it was is down like where a second is almost like a minute in VR or like 10 minutes in VR. All this explanation, she finally says, fuck your future, connects that stuff. Now, the theme of this whole thing has been with Rockwell talking about, VR, AI, they'll give you everything you want, they'll give you a happy ending with a sunshine and stuff like that, but it will seem perfect, but it won't be perfect. And everything's good, everything seems fine. Now there's not as much Wi-Fi, or people have to use their phones for calling and everything, because that's what a cell phone's not for. And everything's good until they realize, wait a second, she hears what her son's saying because she talked to him and stuff like that. Her son vanishes, does the thing to reset to get back to his own reality to try again, because it's not quite there. Not quite there. And Ingrid's freaking out. She's being taken to the hospital because this is not going well. Like, the boy is there with a pug, because there was talk of a pug. Oh, maybe it'll be an adorable pug. And there's the weird cat with the kittens and the glitter neck and stuff like that, wandering around. And then, basically, Rockwell comes back to the diner, instantly sits down and talks to his future mother, and basically says, well, the hard drive, the flash drive thing's a bust, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your blood, your infection, and we're going to find a way to, mass produce it, and we're going to make everybody sick of technology, allergic to technology, and that seems to tie us into a possible sequel. So yeah, we get a little Terminator, we get a little Night of the Living Dead with the teens trying to break into the house to stop people because they're controlled by their technology. A bunch of stuff. And it's a lot of fun. There are a couple points where I think they could have trimmed a little bit of it. Again, this probably could have been an hour and 50 minutes, maybe not 2 hours and 14 minutes. Definitely could have trimmed a little bit of that scene with the boy and Ingrid. But that being said, the movie's so entertaining, I'm still going to give it an A+, because it's a lot of fun. So yeah, good luck, have fun, don't die, is also the theme of the VR and stuff like that. So again, there are many ideas, many working parts here, but I really enjoyed it. So yeah, A+. Agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin, and until we revisit the dark, dank world of the future again, happy trails to you.